All right, welcome back. Now, a human rights group Amnesty International says that the Nigerian military is to blame for the kidnap of the 110 schoolgirls in Dapchi, Yobe State.
Indeed, in a statement signed by Amnesty International's Nigeria Director, Sayo Jiho, the organization insists security forces ignored advance warnings that a convoy of Boko Haram fighters was heading towards Dapchi on the day of the abduction. And according to Amnesty, a police source disclosed that officers fled the town over the fear that the insurgents might overpower them.
Well, the Nigerian army has refuted those allegations. The military says that the report is an outright falsehood and a calculated attempt to whip up sentiments and mislead Nigerians. It says it is not proper for an international organization to make such allegations against the military because it could incite the public and the international community against it. Well, with us in the studio here is a security expert, Ahmed Kadiri. Also with us in the studio is Director General of International Institute of Professional Security, Tony Ofoyeto. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, the Amnesty International, let me start with you, Tony. Amnesty International's report about what has just happened in Dapchi. Do you have any reasons to doubt the report?
Well, if one looks at if we look at the circumstances that surround the easy passage of the abductors, and of course the blame game between the military and the police, and the contradictory statements even at the level of the governor's office. Initial denial that nobody was kidnapped, subsequently that the girls were already with him, and later on that they are nowhere to be found. You see, when you bring all this together, you cannot but believe the Amnesty International. I hope you understand that. Now, I've said this based on the variables, the fact that we were able to see on ground. So it also presupposes, like they said, that, okay, we've been given a first-hand information that some group of people were coming. Well, I don't want to assume that Amnesty International will fabricate such without documents to establish that we've done this. Now, but having said so, I also want to align myself with the military because there's what we call psychological operations in every warfare and in every security. If you make such information public, meanwhile there are official channels of communication to the military, the question will be, what do you intend to achieve at the end of the day?
Won't the information be buried if given to the military without public knowledge?
Well, that's a different case, but we're talking of what we have on ground now. The group, don't forget that Amnesty, to me, I'm not a very big fan of Amnesty International, I must confess to you. And the reason is, from antecedent, Amnesty has not been pro-military. If you look at the activities of the Amnesty International, they will be the first to come out to say that the military are torturing what do you call the terrorists, that they are involved in extrajudicial killing and the like. They will be the first to talk about the high-handedness of the military. But they never said one thing about the terrorists. They never came out once to condemn even the Dapchi abduction you are talking about. What is your role as Amnesty International? Are you just there to condemn and begin to criticize the inadequacies of the military? What do you intend to achieve at the end of the day? We are looking at organizations that would work symbiotically, not at variance, with our military formation. And from antecedent of what I've observed about the Amnesty International, I begin to ask myself at times, if there are no moles of this terrorist group, right even in the Amnesty International, because every step the military take, rather than, say kudos, rather than praise, the next thing you are looking for is fault. There is no perfect security measure anywhere in the world. But I think it is also imperative that we appreciate the effort of the military. And that's just the truth. You and I were in this studio now. If you hear the sound of a gun, I'm sure that you will forget that you earn salary. First, you will first of all look for escape route.
But then there is something called rules of engagement, which of course military officers have to abide by whenever they go on any mission. Ahmed, do you share the same view with him, first off, on the stance of Amnesty International, that it's somehow anti-Nigerian military?
Well, excuse me. Amnesty International has a culture of criticism wherever they go in the world, whether in Nigeria, Australia, wherever they go. So I am not too surprised about their stance regarding the Nigerian military. So it's something, I don't know, I'm used to, and I believe he's also a professional. He understands the way they work. Their job is to criticize, but do not criticize to the point where you make the other party look, how will I put it, totally inept, ineffective. He has said about their criticism about regarding the Nigerian military, about their torturing terrorists, about the extrajudicial killings. I do not know any army in the world that doesn't have a hard stance against terrorists. You do not arrest a terrorist and start serving him 3-course meals 3 times a day. It doesn't happen anywhere. You have to be tough on terrorists in order to deter any other party that might want to go into that line of business. Regarding what has happened with the Dapchi girls, if it is true that the military had prior knowledge, then I wonder how come they did not work on it.
The military is denying anyway.
Okay, good. The military is denying. So my own personal take on the whole Dapchi story is it's our, how will I put it, our lack of prior knowledge about what will most likely happen. We have a threat assessment on every situation. From my own background, we ought to do a threat assessment on every area. So what has the threat assessment been in the Northeast? Why were no preemptive actions taken to allow the a second kidnap of secondary school children? So why are we just now sending civil defense guards to secondary schools in that region? Why was this not done in the first place? It's elementary knowledge. Given what is happening in the Northeast, no measure of security should be ignored. This whole thing is, it's intelligence-led. It's not just picking up Kalashnikovs and heavy armory and the Air Force and bombing. No, those bombs have to be intelligently dropped. All operations have to be intelligence-led. So I do not see any intelligence really coming into play right now. You know, in terms of solving this problem we're having in the Northeast.
Now, the response of the military, I'm still on you now, the response of the military, that Amnesty International's report can incite the public against the army. There is some, sense in that, doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it have some sense?
No, to me it doesn't. The Nigerian public would not be anti-establishment, so to speak. We do know that the army is doing, within its own limits, its best to quash the problem. The army is set up to protect it's set up to defend
the territorial
integrity of Nigeria. So I do not see the army doing anything contrary to that. What we are simply saying here is to ensure that the army is doing what it's carrying out its functions better. Nigerians trust in the army. I believe in our army. I'm not going to believe in the Malian army or the Cameroonian army. I believe in the Nigerian army.
We all do.
Nigerians love their soldiers.
Exactly. We love our soldiers. Absolutely. You know, so definitely no system, how will I put it? The army has its faults. But what we should do is to encourage them to do a better job.
And as Tony said, there is no perfect security.
There is no
system.
perfect, no security is 100%.
Otherwise, America would not be going through what they are going through at the moment.
No security is 100%.
Okay,
no.
well, yes, we've talked about this, but then we cannot shy away from the fact that the soldiers are humans too. And like I said earlier, That is why there is something called rules of engagement, and they let them understand this, that you cannot just go on a mission and then you start trampling on civilians there. And that seems sometimes to be some of the challenges or battles our soldiers face. Videos have been, have been released online so many times of soldiers torturing civilians in public spaces. I'm sure you've seen some of them. So we cannot say that these things will happen.
Yeah, they do happen. Yes, the rule of engagement is expected to be applied. But like he said, the terrorist affair is a different thing from communal clash. They are, in short, world apart from communal clash. Of course, there are instances where you have breaches, overzealous military officers, especially at the other rank, the junior rank, overzealousness. They've not been exposed to such life before. All of a sudden, they are saying that they have power, and before you know it, I've seen a video where a young man told a military girl, say, "I love you," or "You are beautiful." And that led to heavy torture. I'm sure you would have seen it.
I watched it.
And you ask yourself, what is special about telling a lady you are beautiful? If for nothing, compliment, go your way. But the aura of that uniform makes some of them overzealous. But please, that should not be an institutionalized thing.
Okay.
It shouldn't. Like he said, no matter what we say in this country, if not for the military, the security situation of Nigeria will not be where we are today. So we should not sit down and one foreign organization somewhere will bring down our own military formation to the advantage of the terrorists. Psychologically, it is demoralizing. Somebody or group of people are laying down their lives to make sure that the country is sustained. Look, we are here now.
But is this to the advantage of the terrorists?
It is to the advantage of the terrorists.
Isn't it about doing the needful so that it mustn't happen again?
No, it is to the advantage of the terrorists.
How?
I told you something about psychological operation. Information is very key. Look, information could either motivate or demoralize you. If you are told you have gone to war front and you are told that you have gone there to do rubbish, meanwhile you were 100, and it was just one of you that did rubbish, and it's not generalized, the rest 99 will not have the enthusiasm to come all out to do what they ought to do the way they ought to do it. That is what we are talking about. So it's not, to me, I don't think it is right for us to stand and say Amnesty International, kudos. No, we don't owe them that obligation. And when you talk about rules of engagement are product of each security challenge. The rule of engagement says, for example, in the military and police, that if an armed robber is running and you are behind him, shoot the leg. That is basic rule of engagement. That is a civilian thing. But when you are coming to terrorists, the terrorist is running. The rule of engagement says you should shoot the leg. And he has the capacity to do what? To kill. He is ready to die. So the issue of shooting the leg, what relevance does it make? Now, you see, these are things we must come to understand. So it's not a matter of the fact that Amnesty International will come and tell us that, oh, these people are not doing very well because we told them that, who did you even tell? The channel of communication. Who did you tell? Who are the group of people you told? Now, these are things that, now if the military come and say that, okay, we were not told, all well and good. I agree to a large extent that when you look at the Dapchi girl, me as a person, I have avalanche of reservation. I see it as, so many things. Masterminded kidnapping just to make money. That's just my own. Because it succeeded in the Chibok case, now the Dapchi, it will happen again. It's not because I'm a prophet of doom. It is because it's just like kidnapping started. Individual kidnapping, and we said it. Remember, I said it here that if we don't attend to kidnapping like a cancer, it will keep on. Why? Because anything that is lucrative, that involves high volume
it gets
of money,
called its kidnapping industry yesterday.
People will go into it. Now look at what is happening now in terms of mass abduction. If there is no standard operating procedure, like he said, to be able to foresee that, okay, These challenges are inherent in this place. You call it vulnerability analysis or threat analysis. Now, these challenges, security challenges, are inherent here. And this vulnerability, the threat of abduction can exploit it. Now, if the government did not understand that and not be able to take proactive steps, not until it comes, it will, look, it happened in Bono, it's happened in Yobe. Adama's will get ready. It's a simple signature. And these are things we must understand. And when you even talk about deployment of civil defense and all those stuff, that is a good idea. But the best idea is to be able to do personnel audits among security agencies. Who are the most? Who are those people that are commander? Who are the theater commander? Who gives instruction to withdraw and not to withdraw? These are people that are most important. The boys in each of those schools, they are not as important as the instructor. The man that will give the instruction, if he compromises security, all he need to do is just like the case of Bola Ige. Ask all the people to go and eat. Before they come back from eating, a lot has been done. The same thing you talk about Dapchi case. They went away. Before they came back.
But the soldiers they didn't just go away, that they left on January the 10th. The kidnapping happened on February the 19th, that they already they withdrew and handed over to the police. So it wasn't like 2 days or 3 days to the kidnapping.
Now that is where the DSS comes in. Are you there with me? Because that is the hub of intelligence of this country. That is where they now need to look at who gave you instruction to withdraw? Who did you hand over to? Why did you withdraw? When you withdrew, where did you go to? Are you there with me?
Yes.
Now the government that said we did not and we did, why did you do that? Who asked you to do that? The people that came, all the past police station, they passed the villages and the like. Who are those that saw these people? What are the description of these people? Now, but you see, all these things, they are already defeated. They are defeated because the government said we were able to negotiate through backdoor without a definition of what backdoor is. 5 of our girls died. Now look at it. If any Nigerian kill a person, that person will be executed. That is our criminal jurisprudence. Unfortunately, a group of people abducted our children, killed 5 of them. We don't know what happened, the circumstances that led to their death. We are not concerned about their death. It's not even the issue. The issue is we thank God for the release of those girls, but I am more pained that we lost 5 generations, 5 destinies.
All right, Ahmed. Well, earlier we talked about synergy among security, agencies. We need to see more of that, don't we?
Yes, but you see, in Nigeria, we have this culture of rivalry between security agencies for reasons best known to them. The police doesn't want to work with the SSS doesn't want to work with the police, the army doesn't want to work with the police, etc. But a house divided against itself would never gain any results. It will not stand. So we need better cooperation between all the security agencies, the SSS, the army, the navy, the police, because with that we'll be able to have a better pool of intelligence to get the job done, so to speak. So yes, we do need to see more of that.
All right, okay. You want to ask a question?
Yeah, just to follow up. Do you think that any lessons have been learned, from what happened, from the Chibok, and now it happened again with the Dapchi, and Nigerians have questioned why is it that we allowed these people who have been chasing, fighting against, they come into town having a free reign, dropped the girls, and then went away unchallenged? Is it not tantamount to, rigmarolling within the same circle? Are we not going to have kidnappings again by these people?
Well, your initial question sounded like a trick question. We obviously have not learned, and I don't think we are going to learn. It is going to happen again. Like he said, I'm not a prophet of doom. But from a professional standpoint, given the sort of steps we take in addressing issues, it will happen again. There are a lot of lapses. There are a lot of weaknesses on the part of government. And Boko Haram has seen that kidnapping is still a very lucrative business. They were paid for the Chibok girls. They were paid for the Dapchi girls. So why not go for another set of people and get paid? So, and from my own little knowledge, I hear that some Boko Haram terrorists were actually exchanged for these girls, and money obviously changed hands here. So why the hell not? Why not go for it again?
All right. Okay, Tony, let me bring you back in here. The common saying that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. That seems to be the situation Nigeria has itself at the moment. The government seems to be cornered, and most of the time doesn't seem to have the power to negotiate from a position of strength. And not just you men, many guests have talked to us about the possibility of this happening again, because Nigeria doesn't seem to have a grasp on what to do. And then the move now that NSCDC officials should be manning schools in that region won't work. Colonel Hassan Stan Lambo said so yesterday that they are not well trained, first off, and they're not even well armed.
They are not trained at all.
No. The civil defense are well trained. They are well trained.
For that kind of warfare?
They are well trained.
Guerrilla warfare?
Let's leave the issue of training.
Okay.
In short, civil defense were trained by the army. Civil defense, they were trained by the Nigerian military. So whatever you see civil defense do is a replica of what army can do. So if you are talking of training, they are well trained.
And what about being armed?
Now the reason why you say so is because they don't brandish their arm the way the police do and all those stuff like that. Maybe that is their own philosophy, which to me is a good one. Have we learned? The answer, like he said, is no. But what I see there is that the political culture, our religious orientation, they are defective. And they aid terrorism in this country.
How?
Good. Now, the politicians exploit the, low educational level of these boys in the north, gather them together for political purposes, but use religion, which is a passionate way through which they can get them. Are you there with me? To bring them on fold. Now that is one. Secondly, the terrorism we are talking about in this country, it's also a product of politics and religion. If you look at what happened, Chibok girls, they were all predominantly Christians. Dapchi, all of them that were Muslims released. The only girl that is a Christian held back, compelled to say, renounce your faith before we release you. Good enough, the girl say, I'm ready to die for my faith. If that is the case, that's the implication. You say, I'm not going to. Now, if you abduct and you bring religion into it, don't forget that when Boko Haram capture any territory, the first thing they do is to put up the flag there and establish the Islamic rule there. Now, so you see that becomes a dangerous one. Why you and I will be afraid to say that Boko Haram is a terrorist Islamic group is because you don't want to draw the sentiment from other Muslims to say, no, don't bring religion into it. Until we tell ourselves the blunt truth, we will keep having this thing reoccurring all over and all over again. In the military, in all security agencies, in establishment, there are sympathizers. Now the question is this, why are they sympathetic? Is it because these people are killing people? No. They are sympathetic because they have the same religious faith. Basically, every other thing becomes secondary. Now, and these are areas where the government must now come all out strongly to say, irrespective of your faith, security is paramount. The life of the average Nigerian is very valuable. Blood is not water and must not be spilled anyhow. Even water, you pay per liter, not to even talk of human blood. Now, if the government is able to come all out against all this, then security will work. Religion and politics, they are never good friends to security. In short, they are the major problem of security. If a theater commander is a Christian and you ask him to go and quench riot in a Christian community, he is at a tight corner. If he is a Muslim, you ask him to go and fight a terrorist group in a Muslim community, he is at a tight corner. Don't tell me that he's a professional. I agree that he's a professional. He is also a human being. He also has faith in him. He has his own biases. Now, these are issues that we must be able to attend to. If the government is very serious about this thing, the government should also look inward. The issue of Dapchi, who are the people that negotiated for the release? Mama Aisha, what is her name? Said, I know these people. Able to relate and communicate with them.
Because of time, we will wrap in a moment. But we want Ahmed to have a last take quickly. You agree with him that the bane of security is not just what we think, but religion, ethnicity, and all other factors.
We allow sentiments get the better of us in this part of the world. I'm a Muslim, but my professionalism comes first. If I have to do a job, I'm not going to say just because you're a Muslim, I will not get my job done. But that is not really common across the board. Like he said, most people get sentimental. So until such a time we're able to rise above such sentiments, we will not see a whole lot of objectivity in what we do in this country.
All right, Tony Ofoyetan, you're the Director General of International Institute for Security. Thank you for coming. And of course, Ahmed Kadiri, you're a security consultant. Thank you, gentlemen. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
You.